to have you here, or Congressman, now that we're on the air officially. How are
Yeah,
you?
no, thanks so much for having me.
So let's dive right in. First, your notes, your comments on the big beautiful bill that is now headed into the Senate.
Yeah, I mean, we've delivered on, all of President Trump's priorities. This is a huge win for him. It's a huge win for the country. It's everything that he's campaigned on. It is one big beautiful bill. There's a ton of stuff in there, from defense issues to border issues to completing the wall to extending President Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act from 5 years ago, that if that expired at the end of this year would be like a 22% increase in small business taxes, like a 60 something percent increase on an average family of four. You would see horrible tax increases across the country if we don't do that. So there's a lot of good things in there, and now it goes to the Senate, and we're going to see what the Senate's going to do.
Yeah, and in the Senate, there's a lot of talk already, as you've probably heard. Do they keep it together? Do they break it up into smaller bills? If this starts happening in the Senate, my concern is they don't get it done in some form fast enough, whether by July 4th or just fast enough, because this has to get out and in play for the people to see the returns on it, the tax cuts, and all the other effects, because the midterms, all of Congress, all of the House rather, and some of the Senate on the schedule, that's not that far away.
Yeah, we've got to get this done by the end of the July, or by July 4th, which is the goal. As far as breaking it up, the reason why we did it in one big bill was because it makes it harder for individual members to vote against something that has all of these different priorities in it. I mean, there's pieces of it like salt that I do not support. I don't think that we should be increasing the salt deduction at all. But taken as a whole, there's a lot of really, really great policy in here. So if the Senate starts breaking this up and just taking, say the tax piece or taking the defense piece, there are probably a lot of members that voted for it because it had a lot of these different provisions in it. If you take, say, the border and the defense funding out, and it's just the tax piece, there's a lot of conservatives that can find reasons to vote no based on SALT and some of the other things that are in there. Like, I also don't think we should be extending the IRA, Joe Biden, wind ethanol and solar tax credits for a period of time. Now, that got reduced from what came out of the committee to 2 years of a phase out, but I think we should just kill it altogether. That also gives us a tremendous amount of savings. So if you start breaking the bill up in the Senate and sending it back, remember, anytime they change anything, it has to come back to the House. And we saw how challenging it was to get a majority of members to vote for this bill. It passed by 215 to 214. If you start changing it significantly in the Senate and sending it back to the House, we may face challenges over here. And then you may face challenges where the leadership of the House says, oh, well, we're going to change it back and send it back, which becomes tremendously problematic from a time perspective.
Maybe it's just me, and it's probably more true than not that it's just me. I don't trust the Senate. I never was into the biggest, greatest, world's greatest deliberative body. And one of the strategies that gets nothing done for the less conservative members of the Senate is to delay, deny, and like you said, if it keeps going back and forth, it never goes there. You make a very valid point that with one bill, you stop this Christmas tree crap that's been going on for the longest time in Congress.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what the timing would be if they broke it up. And you're right. Typically the House tends to be more conservative, and then a bill goes over there, and the Senate tends to be more of a moderate chamber. I mean, you got Mitch McConnell over there. You've got people that Murkowski, who are much more moderate than a guy like me. So it typically doesn't get more conservative when it goes over there. And if guys like Rand Paul and some of these other senators say they're not going to vote for it unless there's more spending reductions, which I 100% support more spending reductions, I mean, they can only lose 3 votes over there. And then you've got a tie vote with the vice president breaking the tie vote. So I'll be interested to see how they're going to do it. We all are going on recess for the Memorial break. And so the Senate's got their work cut out for them in the month of June to try to get this done into the president's desk.
Let's move on to something else. The Protecting Our Land Act. What's in this? This is to prohibit a foreign person who is a foreign adversary, state sponsor of terrorism, anyone controlled or owned or affiliated by them, agent or instrumentalities of a foreign adversary to purchase public or private real estate in the United States.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I proposed this bill because I don't believe that the Chinese Communist Party should be owning land in the United States. China currently owns more than 384,000 acres of American land, and they're obviously trying to buy land, buy Air Force bases, buy bases that we have assets of our national defense, which is a huge mistake, in my opinion. Chinese Communist Party is the number one national security threat to the United States. We shouldn't be allowing them to purchase real estate and purchase land, especially by military installations. So I filed that bill a couple of years ago, and we'll continue to work on this until we pass it to ensure that our domestic security is protected, that our bases are protected, and that we're not selling our lands off to the Chinese Communist Party.
You know, there's so much more we need to do on that. And yesterday, one part of our conversation on TV was about the CFIUS process. Could your bill, if passed as you've laid out, working with CFIUS, provide a double wall of defense against China, for example?
It would certainly help tremendously. And anything that we can do to start both physically preventing the Chinese Communist Party from getting information and putting themselves in a position where they are close to our military installations, the better. We have to do that from an intelligence standpoint. We have to do that from a security standpoint. With Joe Biden's open borders, there were 50,000 Chinese Communist Party individuals that were let into our country. Where are those people? Obviously, the Trump administration is trying to get all these illegals out of our country as quick as possible, but you've let the Biden administration let these people into our country, and these are not people that are coming to our country to live the American dream. These are people that wish to harm our nation, and it's finally we've got an administration in the Trump administration that is focused on this. But in Congress, we need to do the type of things and pass bills like this to protect our bases and protect our people.
My guest, Congressman Greg Steube from Florida's 17th District. Good news for the Army. We're heading into Memorial Day weekend. I know there's a big birthday coming up for you Army guys, but also the Army just announced that they've hit 85% of their 2025 recruitment goals. Seems like things are looking up.
Yeah, and we're not even halfway through the year. I mean, what a difference it makes with the new administration and young men and women willing to serve under President Trump's leadership, under Secretary Hegseth's leadership. Obviously, there's been a huge change in the way that the military is operating. The former military thought that climate change was the number one national security threat to the United States and wants to let trans people and DEI our military, when our military should be focused on the safety and security of the American people. And it's finally nice that we have an administration that's focused on the real purpose of our military might. And what you're seeing is the recruitment numbers going through the roof because of that.
Well, it is great to see. It is a reinvigorated, not just feeling, but action in America. And this is all headed in the more positive direction, in the right direction. Look, we know the reason we're here this weekend. So many who have sacrificed. You've been there and you've seen this up close. And we need to make sure that we never forget that those who raise their right hands, as you've done, written that blank check to this country, don't all come home to their families.
Yeah, amen. And this is a weekend, and next week is a tribute to their sacrifice for our freedoms. We wouldn't be living in the nation that we are today without the hundreds of thousands of Americans who've died on foreign soils to protect our freedoms.
Congressman Greg Steube from Florida's 17th District. Why don't we just put off the congressman and talk show host act? Greg, have a great weekend with the family.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.